What's up naughty buddies, welcome to the first story explained video. It's time that we start with one of the best games which we played recently. It's none other than Kina Breach of Spirits. It's a game by Ember Labs. Being their first game in such genre, they did a pretty amazing job. It's a story about a spirit guide. The entire game starts with a cutscene where it shows that we are falling into a cave full of mysterious lights and spirits walking around us. The Kina, the character here have an amazing power which includes the power to shield herself, to heal the nearby areas and to remove the impurity which exists in the surrounding with the help of the little rods who join Kina as a companion. Apart from this, she carries a staff which was given to her by her father who used to be a spirit guide in his time. As the story continues, we are made aware that Kina at a young age lost her father and it was caused due to some dark presence or some evil entities. Since then, Kina wanted to do something to make her father proud and that's why she chose the road to be the spirit guide. As and when we are progressing in our story, the first cutscene of the game shows that an evil spirit appears in front of Kina and asks her to leave the place or stop her journey as a spirit guide. The dark spirit was none other than the Toshi, as she battles her way to reach the mountain shrine where all the evil spirit or the dark spirit exists. During this journey, she will come across the two young children in the forest named Benny and Saya. This is when or where Kina first ever mission comes in. Kina asks Benny and Saya to help her to find the way to the mountain shrines. Kina asks Benny, and in return, Benny and Saya agreed to help her, but in return, they ask her to help them to find their teenage brother, Taro, who is a spirit like them, but he is a restless spirit which is stuck between the two worlds. Kina agreed and all of them started their journey to find their brother Taro. Now, the next part of the story comes here. Soon after that, we can see that the Kina reaches a village and there she met an elder villager who used to live at the mountain shrine areas before all those evil entities kicks in and made the entire area full of impurities. The elder villager started to narrate an entire story to Kina about all the spirits which were there, which ended up being restless and Taro being one of them. The villager then gave Kina a mask, which was none other than the mask which used to belong to Taro, and asked Kina to use this, and with the help of the mask, the memory of the Taro will guide to find all three lyrics, which will in turn help Kina to free all those restless spirits, in this case Taro. In her journey to find all the three relics to free the Taro spirit, Benny and Saya asked Kina to find Mr. Rusu, as Mr. Rusu was quite close with Taro, and before all the events occurred, Taro and his brother went to meet Mr. Rusu. He might know some details about him. That's what all of them thought, and they started their journey in order to find Mr. Rusu in the Forgotten Forest. Mr. Rusu is a huntsman, exactly, that will help or guide Kina on her journey as a mentor. We will see that Mr. Rusu teaches Kina a very important survival skills and offer insight into the abandoned village. One of the most important skills we learn from Mr. Rusu is the ability to use the spirit bow, which in our mission to free Taro from all the dark spirits, we encounter overall 7 bosses and we need to defeat each bosses such as Sprout, Kappa, Wood Knight, Sprout Captain, Make and Shrine Guardian. All these bosses need to be defeated in order to proceed ahead. Once we find all the relics and after we defeat the corrupt Taro, a beautiful cutscene is shown to us where Taro narrates an entire story of how it all started, how they all went to visit Mr. Rusu and on their journey back to Mountain Shrine. Some evil dark spirits attacked the Mountain Shrine area, which caused the terror spirit to get stuck between the two worlds and ended up being taken over by the dark presence. In end, we can see that Kina says the last goodbye to the little two young men, Penny and Saya, for the last time, and they head back to their village. Soon after this, Kina went back to the elder villager where he mentions that Taro isn't the only one who needs to be free. The spirit of Toshi is too powerful, and before Kina attempts to fight with him, she needs to be prepared. But for now, she should focus on freeing other restless spirits. And another spirit which he mentioned was the woodsmith. So, Mr. Elderly Villager hands Kina the woodsmith mask which will guide Kina on her way towards her. So guys, all the videos of the tutorial of the bosses as how you can defeat them can be found on my end screen of this video. So guys, this was the story so far. This was you can say a second half of the story. We completed the first half where we freed Mr. Taro. This game is really beautiful, guys. I really urge you guys to at least play it once. At least try to play it once. It's really worth every single penny. Before I start the second journey, tell me guys, what are your opinion on this story? I know it's my first time I'm doing this, guys, so I would really appreciate if you guys can give me some sort of feedback on this. Really, I have never done this before, so I'm really I'm not sure. You can say I'm not that confident enough, but I'm definitely gonna do my best so that you guys can understand the entire story without purchasing the game itself. So please do let me know down in the comments what do you think about this game, how beautiful it is, and if you are wondering that you wish to see how the gameplay is or the walkthroughs of this very game, you can find it on my channel. I have completed this game not so long ago. Alright, from here we will start our second journey. So let's begin the second half of the story. From here, the second journey or the mission of the Kina starts, where she needs to find her way towards the woodsmith and free her. The woodsmith was none other than Adira. On her journey to free Adira, Kina needs to find her way to the storehouse, a place which is in a deep cave underground, where she met Hannah, and she narrated the entire story of Adira, the woodsmith, and her. Both of them were together, but something evil happened to the village which caused the Adira spirit to get stuck between two worlds, just like how Mr. Taro was stuck. Just like how Mr. Rusu was being a mentor and a guide to Kina on her journey to find Taro, Hannah taught Kina some abilities, and one of the most important and her final abilities was to make and use the energy or the spirit bombs. Yes guys, this is one of the most important ability you can say, because it's quite useful in order to find your way to the final boss. It's really great ability, I must say. Alright, so now let's go ahead. To free Adira, she needs to solve many puzzles on her way to the woodsmith. She needs to find relics again. Yes guys, so relics are quite important in this game. You need to figure out or find relics in order to progress ahead in each chapters or in each episodes of the game. Kina needs to fight and defeat overall 2 bosses here. So you need to defeat overall 2 bosses here in order to reach the final boss. And the 2 bosses here are none other than the Wine Knight, and the final boss is the Corrupt Woodsmith, which is the final boss of this very chapter. So Kina need to defeat 2 bosses here, the Wine Knight and the Corrupt Woodsmith. Once Kina finds all the relics and once she defeats the Corrupt Woodsmith, a beautiful cutscene is shown to us where Adira narrates the entire story of her and Hannah's love, how she ended up getting stuck between the worlds, what happened, and so on. They both were lovebirds, and in end we can see that both lovebirds are together again. And Kina goes back to the elder villager and returns the mask to honor Adira. So once she returned the mask, the elder villager asks Kina whether she's ready to fight with Toshi, the person who caused everything, or it might be someone who is being linked with the tragedy that left the village to be abandoned in the first place. We have no idea, but so far what we know about this Toshi guy is the one who appeared in the first cutscene of this very game, who asks Kina, the main protagonist, or you can say the spirit guide here, to leave the place and let it be what it is, because she was trying to purify everything and he was being, you can say, an antagonist. He wanted to stop Kina by every possible means. So Mr. Elder Villager hands Kina Toshi's mask. He handed Kina the Toshi mask and told her good luck in her journey. That's it. He knew that Kina will require a lot of luck to beat the Mr. Toshi. Overall, Kina had to fight Toshi twice. So in this journey, we need to fight Mr. Toshi twice. While being the first one in a cutscene where Toshi uses his power to enter into the Kina's memory and tells break off her staff and everything. So when we were fighting with the Toshi for the first time, Toshi used his powers and entered into the Kina's memory and broke off her staff. The staff which she was carrying everywhere, she broke her staff, she broke her entire confidence and everything. She then ended up in a memories where she can see a young cute Kina who is holding a staff in her hand. The Kina went back into the past. She was able to see all those memory which was there in her mind. We can see that young Kina hands the teenage Kina, the spirit guide, her staff, and that's where the cutscene ends. But the small Kina, or you can say the young Kina, was actually looking for her father who went missing. And that's when she handed the teenage Kina the staff which was being held by the young Kina. The cutscene ended right there and Kina was she was brought back to the village. So once she entered into village world again, she talked with the elder villager about this. We can see that once she started her journey, see that the elder villager told Kina that she needs to be very confident. She needs to hold nothing beneath her. She needs to be firm. She needs to be confident, or else if she is not confident enough, the dark presence or the dark spirit will use her memories in order to defeat her. So to defeat Toshi, Kina needs to solve several puzzles and find 3 relics, which come in as and when we progress ahead in the journey. Before she fights Toshi, she needs to beat or defeat 3 bosses. Yes guys, so overall there will be 3 bosses before the final boss, which will be the Toshi in this chapter. So overall there will be the 3 bosses here: the Mask Maker, the Warrior, and the Hunter. Mask Maker and the Warrior are a bit easy when it comes to defeating, but the Hunter, let me tell you guys, this was one of the toughest boss I've ever encountered. I guess in all these bosses, this was the first toughest boss. So once all these bosses are defeated, she will then use 3 relics to summon Toshi and challenges him. So once you defeat all these 3 bosses, each one of them will give you a relic which will be used to free Toshi, right? Those 3 relic will be then used to summon Toshi's spirit. Once everything is done, like once she has defeated the bosses, all 3 bosses, and once she used all 3 relics, we can then see that Toshi was defeated. However, not completely guys. The Toshi didn't get defeated completely. When Kina tries to purify Toshi's spirit using the rods, with the help of the rods she tries to purify the Toshi's spirit, but Toshi used his powers and made the rod's power ineffective and stated that these rods are powerful when they are used together. However, these are not their true form. These are not their true power. Toshi told Kina that he has seen the worst power or their worst form. Toshi then uses his evil power to take over all the rods and uses the power to change their form from the small rods which were too cute and too powerful to the powerful the Rod God. This is the final boss and one of the most difficult bosses of all time. Once Kina defeats the Rod God, a cutscene can be seen where Toshi finally stops and apologizes to Kina and the village elder who used to be his mentor back then. A small cutscene is shown to us where Toshi narrates the entire story as how it all started, how he opposed the Rot God who used to be guardian of the mountain shrines, how he attacked them, and in end how things started to go out of control, and in end we need to then use all our rods and free all of them. So once we defeat the Rot God, once the entire cutscene ends, the village elder tells Kina that she knows better. She needs to do what's right. After that, we can see we are given a mission to meditate so that the rods which we have, the rods which we are using for defeating enemies, for purifying the place, they need to be set free so that they can come back into their original form or the actual form, which is the rod god. So in final, we can see the Kina uses his power and all those rods come together to form a rod god, and that's the end of the story. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this. I did the entire story. I explained you guys. I did my best to keep it simple and small. If I was being too fast, then I'm literally sorry. But this was how the entire Kina game was. It was quite beautiful, love it. So guys, I hope you have enjoyed this small story explanation of the Kina, and if you did, then make sure you smash the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell icon. And once again guys, I apologize if it wasn't up to the mark, but I will do my best. Do let me know your feedback down in the comment if you want that I should keep on making such story explanation videos or not, and I will see you in my next video or stream. Till then, take care and do not forget to subscribe, and make sure you watch my all the videos where I have shown how to defeat each and every bosses. Till then, take care later on.